Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's May the 30th, 9 p.m., and I'd like to welcome you to Moon Musings, where I try to show you the moon every night. And tonight it's going to be a real colorful moon. For starters, I thought I'd just kind of move into it. You can see the purples and the blues and the browns, and it's just really incredible. I turned the auto gain and everything off. I wanted to show you something right at the start, and that is my ferret. The ferret, by the way, when you're looking at the moon tonight and you go out on your porch and you look up at the moon, the way I'm presenting it is the way you will see it. Up is up, down is down, right is right, left is left. And you can see the sea of Serenity on the left, which is centered, and followed by the line of demarcation, and then the Sea of Tranquility, kind of right at the 5 o'clock position. But if you look, and I'm going to try to center it, what I call the ferret, because it really looks like a ferret with his two beady eyes and his pointy nose. And we're going to zoom into him. I read something today was really fascinating. This is an optical zoom. It is not a software zoom, so there's no interpolation or anything. It's just the only thing that's going to screw us up is the atmospherics. And that's a pretty good picture of the beady eyes. It's called Mare Crisium. I call it the ferret. And that particular crater that is his mouth is Proculus. Looks like a mouth to me. Anyhow, if you take a look at the ferret, Mare Crisium, let me center it again. The Luna 24 spaceship from Russia landed at the 4 o'clock, kind of 3:30 position on that Mare, kind of toward the edge. Well, they released today some interesting information on Luna 24. By the way, it was the last mission, I believe, before they sent the 1974 or 19. This was let's see, 1976 Luna 24 made a soft landing on the moon, August 18th, 1976. What was interesting about the findings, though, they actually bored into the Mare 300 meters. Now, I read that today, and that seemed like an awful long distance, whatever they used. But they took samples, I believe core samples, and they analyzed them, and they determined that the core samples had 0.1% water. But this information was suppressed by the Western press, and it wasn't too widely known. But it was talked about in the trade press today. I just bring that to your attention because when I look at this moon, I see hints of an atmosphere, guys. I see a lot of color and deep purples, browns and greens, and signs of vegetation. Now, whether there's vegetation or not, I don't know. Now, let me turn my auto exposure on, and we're going to kind of head over to the edge of the shadow line right now. It'll kind of be bright on the right. There you go. The crater right now, take a look at that picture. Isn't that amazing? I'm not doing nothing to this video. This video, the brightness, the contrast, I control that. The color intensity, I got cranked up to about 30%. If I change the brightness down, you know, we're at the shadow line and it's a bright moon. And you can see, though, you can see kind of the color variations on the Mar. Plato is that big crater at your 3 o'clock. And the area to the left is what I call the coastlands. And the coastlands are called the see, now I got to move to the right again to kind of let it click in. I got autofocus on and off. And see how it's up there at the edge. It sees that sun on the rim. Very sensitive to color, guys. Very sensitive. If I go to the edge too much, it'll see the sun reflecting on the rim. But you can see clearly the deep purples and the variation in color on the Mar, which is incredible. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to zoom in. Again, I do have an optical zoom. And I want to show you in particular I do not have a Barlow on. Take a look at the pinnacle. And the pinnacle that we're talking about is, let me move it to the kind of center. It's kind of like at the 5 o'clock. It's the Laplace, and let me turn the autofocus on. It's called the Laplace Promontory. I feel like a one-armed paper hanger. I'm trying to work the controls. Take a look at that promontory. Isn't that a beautiful shot? And you'll see it moving around a little bit. It's not me. I'm inside the house. The telescope's on the porch, and the wind's blowing a little bit. I'm going to try to stabilize it with the software that YouTube provides. But look at the shadow of Laplace Promontory, and you can see more detail of the Jura Mountains than we've ever seen before. Let me turn the there. I got manual controls on so I can control the exposure better. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Now what we're going to do is we're going to work our way down the shadow line. And take a look at that shadow. I want you to look at that, because I'm going to come back to that later, and you'll see that it's actually going to be elongated. At the end of this session, it's going to be way out there. See that shadow again? Let me again kind of center it. Up is up and down is... Yeah, it's kind of centered. You can see that shadow from the Laplace Promontory. We're going to look at that later. Just keep in mind where that point is on the shadow. It's going to be moving as we're doing this session. I want to show it to you. Okay, I'm going to go back. Isn't this high adventure, guys? You never know what you're going to see. And we're seeing some incredible stuff just looking at this moon. By the way, this is the first shot that I've had of the moon in a week or so. My observatory is a porch with a roof, so I have restrictions. Now take a look to your left. See the shadow? See, if I increase the exposure, you can see more detail along the shadow line. And look at those elongated shadows from those mountains right at the edge. See if I turn it all the way up. See those shadows? See how they are enunciated? Isn't that incredible? Now you think if we were looking at this thing and there was a tower and it was several miles high, you would see a real long shadow. Okay, let's continue down. This is high adventure. It's just like your Magellan sailing the high seas, and you don't know what you're going to see. That crater right there is Copernicus, and it's kind of at the center. Copernicus. Isn't that beautiful, guys? If I had one wish in all the world, it would be that astronomers and professional astronomers and amateur astronomers would revisit the moon with a camera that is as sensitive to color as mine and bring out the color so that people can enjoy it, because it is not just gray and dead. Unfortunately, mostly all the cameras for telescopes are not as sensitive to color as what mine is. You say, what are you using, Bill? Well, I have no secrets. I would love for everybody to replicate what I'm doing. I'm using a Logitech C110 $68 web camera with autofocus, and you saw it kick in. See it kick in there? It's tripping into focus. Very sensitive to color. If there's any color up there at all, it will bring it out. Now, granted, some nights I go up and I don't see any color. It depends on the way the sun's hitting the moon, guys. There's our horse. Look at our horse right there. Matter of fact, let's zoom in on our horse. This particular setup that I have here, I'm using only one lens. What's unique about this particular camera and the way I'm using it, I can use it with regular telescope lenses. And the lens I'm using in this case is a Teleview Panoptic 19 millimeter. Look at all those craters. Panoptic lens. I'm going to turn autofocus off. It's jumping around too much. And now, see, I'm going to turn it and get it out of focus. See how it's out of focus? I'm using my motorized focus to get it in focus. Isn't it cool that I can control it from inside the house? Way cool, guys, way cool. And let's do a survey. Let's survey the right side of the moon. Let's go up and let me work the exposure. See how when I turn the exposure down, I can bring up some detail in the craters. Isn't that beautiful? See, typically on a night like tonight, where the right side of the moon is bright, and then the left side is the shadow, there's so much variation in the difference that it's really hard to control with the auto. Now let me turn it down a little bit more. See, it's just overpowering. And see Tycho. Tycho is that big crater kind of at the 4 o'clock position. And there's where I kind of started with the ferret. Okay, I'm going to turn the auto gain on. I tell you though, of all the things on the moon, when you're looking at the color variation, and you do see it. You see it in the Mars, and you see it in the mountains. And what is it? Is it vegetation? I have no idea. I'm only merely reporting to you what I see. But you can see it very clearly here between the Sea of Tranquility on the left and the Sea of the Sea of Serenity on the left. See how it's a different hue of a different color, and then the Sea of Tranquility on the right, with what I call the line of demarcation in the middle. It's really a pretty moon tonight. Note, UFOologists, we have not seen one, not one, UFO or flying bat or otherwise. Isn't that marvelous? And see how when we get up to the edge with the sun shining on the edge, sometimes the blues will come out because I think there's a blue atmosphere, and then sometimes the sun will. This camera will amplify whatever it sees, and it sees that and brings it up. Now let's go back down and take a look at this pinnacle, Laplace, and look at that shadow line. And well, it's changed shape. It's hard to see if it elongated or shortened, but I'd have to compare it with the other one. I hope you guys are doing well. I get itchy fingers whenever I can't get out and do the moon. I like to get up here and just kind of see what in the hell there is to see. That plateau right there in the middle is called, the crater is called Plato. The big one, it's at the 6 o'clock position. By the way, if you're interested in replicating what I've done, have at it. I've done several videos where I've shown you the equipment that I use and the lenses. And And there's the Apenninus Mountains, the Alps. And you can see some very defined peaks. Let's zoom in on the top of those peaks. Isn't that incredible? Think about what you're looking at, guys. You're looking at some Alps, the Alps on the moon. You're seeing defined shadows on the top. Matter of fact, let me turn the autofocus on and see if we can. It did come in just a bit better. You can see the defined shadows though. And yeah, I'm going to stick to manual focus. By the way, the focuser I'm using is a Feather Touch focuser by JMI. The telescope I'm using is a fabulous Celestron 8 SC. It's an 8-inch. And it's a Schmidt, what they call a Schmidt Caradon. But take a look at that Mar to the left of the Alps. Just look at the color variations in that Mar. Isn't that incredible? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this on pause and I'm going to put in a Barlow and let's see if we can get closer to Laplace Pinnacle. Hang with me, guys, for a minute. I'm going to put in a... See, that's the thing about this setup. I can just put it on pause and change lenses if I want. One of the reasons that I don't change lenses as often as I should or could is because I do have a zoom on this thing. I can zoom in and zoom out. And you can see I can zoom way out. We're going to go take a look at Laplace through a Barlow, a 2.5 Barlow. That means I'll get 2.5 times closer, which means atmospherics will kick in, but I'd like to see what it looks like up a little bit closer. Hang with me, guys. Okay, I'm back. I got that 2.5 Barlow in on top of a 19 millimeter. It's a Powermate. And I'm looking at the Alps, that same range that we were looking at before. I'll go over to the Laplace Pinnacle in a minute, but let's just zoom in on this range of Alps. And you can see the winds blowing. It's not, but you can see clearly the tops of those Alps very, very clearly. Matter of fact, let me just zoom in all the way. And let me turn autofocus on just for grins. You can see quite a bit of detail in those mountains. I'm going to zoom back out, and you can see the shadows. And just kind of imagine you're a little astronaut walking around at the base of those Alps. It would look like fantastic mountains. Matter of fact, Apollo 15 landed pretty much centered in that area of those mountains, and you can imagine how in the hell did they actually land on the moon. I mean, without cracking up, because they're kind of going between the peaks of mountains. Okay, let me kind of work my way over to the left here. That's Archimedes, that big crater that we're passing. Yeah, that's what I want to see. See the Jura Mountains, and look at the detail. And let's kind of center that. And you can still see the sun coming in and showing us some of that hidden detail on the Mar below the surface. And let me turn autofocus off and try to focus it up manually. Just and that's probably as good as I can get it. Autofocus is on again. And you can see, look at that defined shadow that I was talking about. That's the Laplace Promontorium Laplace with a defined shadow named for Pierre-Simon Laplace, a French mathematician, astronomer from 1749 to 1827. Isn't that an incredible shot? Just not quite as in focus as I would like. Let me work the focus on it. See, we got atmospherics working against us now, guys. What are atmospherics? Well, I'm going to have to back out. I'd say the effective power when we were that close was about 480 power. And to give you an idea of that power, let me see if I can turn autofocus on now. Yeah, see, it's not. Atmospherics occur whenever the heat rises from the surface of the Earth, and it affects our viewport to the moon because the heat, the cold air and the hot air get together and make it difficult for us to see. Okay, I'm going to take that Barlow off. We're going to go back to normal and finish this thing up. Okay, just when I'm going to shut it down, I see something interesting. By the way, I've been watching bulldog drumming all day. I've been a detective kind of mood, so I'm kind of looking around for things. I have all the old 1937, 36, 38 movies, black and white movies of bulldog drumming. The men there are just incredible. Take a look at that. That angle in that light, you can take a look at the Alps, which are centered, angled towards the 7 o'clock position. And just to the right of the Alps are a series of mountains called the Doloris Mountains. But look at the box canyons in those mountains. And I'm going to zoom in and we're going to look at those a little bit closer. I've never seen the color come out quite like this, and and the variations in the mountains. You can see the Alps clearly on the left. And take a look at all those little box canyons. Isn't that incredible? You know, if you were a Tom Corbett space cadet walking around in those things, you could get lost. I think this stuff is fantastic. Now, since I have it, I'm going to put this on pause for just a second. See that little crater on the Alps, on the right side of the Alps, at the 9 o'clock position. Okay, I wanted to double check. I put it on pause. At 9 o'clock is Conan Crater. That crater is 13 miles wide. I'm giving you an idea of what we're looking at. See that little crater at the 1 o'clock of Conan? That crater is called Aratus Crater, and that crater is 6 miles wide. That means all those little dots that you see, those small little dot craters, are probably less than a mile wide. That'll give you an idea of how close we are and what you're really seeing with my telescope. Hope you found it interesting. I'm going to try to do the moon again tomorrow night. You never know what you're going to see. The shadow always moves. It's always exciting. It's always an adventure. It's always high adventure. Wishing you and yours clear skies, guys.